What if everything, every galaxy, every memory, every breath of life was destined to vanish? What if the very fabric of time, the space in which all things exist, had a beginning and also an end? We live in a universe defined by change. Stars are born and die, galaxies collide, black holes consume matter, and even light itself can be stretched and diluted across time. But beyond these cosmic phenomena lies a more profound, unsettling reality. The universe itself is not eternal. One day it will end. And then what? This is a question that pushes the limits of science, philosophy, and imagination. What happens after the universe ends? Is there something beyond the silence and void, or does everything collapse into a final stillness, never to rise again? To explore this, we must first understand what it means for the universe to end. There is no single answer. Cosmologists have proposed multiple theories, each supported by data, yet each presenting a radically different vision of the final chapter. The first, and perhaps most widely accepted theory, is the slow death, the so-called heat death of the universe. In this scenario, the cosmos continues expanding forever. Galaxies drift apart, stars burn out, and black holes eventually evaporate through Hawking radiation. Over unimaginably long timescales, far beyond anything the human mind can intuit, the universe becomes cold, empty, and inert. All activity ceases. Every usable form of energy becomes equally dispersed in a vast and featureless expanse. This is the universe at maximum entropy, a place with no structure, no gradients, no life. Time still exists, but there is nothing left to mark it. In this scenario, the end is not an explosion or collapse. It is the infinite stretch of nothingness, where reality itself becomes a quiet void. And yet, even here, questions linger. Could fluctuations in the quantum vacuum spark temporary structures? Could particles, or even self-aware entities, momentarily arise from the randomness of the void? Some physicists suggest the possibility of Boltzmann brains, brief, spontaneous appearances of thinking entities born from pure chance. But these would be isolated flashes, quickly gone, with no future, no past, and no purpose. For all practical intents, there would be no after this state, just an eternal frozen quiet, a cosmic graveyard. But not all models agree with this passive fading. Some propose an entirely different fate. The universe might not expand forever. Instead, it could one day stop, and then reverse. If the gravitational pull of all matter in the universe were just enough to overcome expansion, the universe would begin to contract. Galaxies would draw closer, the cosmic web would tighten, and the fabric of space would shrink. Eventually, all matter and energy would collapse back into a singularity, a point of infinite density, similar to the one from which the universe began. This idea is known as the Big Crunch. And if that happens, then perhaps the end isn't truly the end. Perhaps the singularity rebounds, erupting into another Big Bang. A new universe, governed by new physics, might explode into being. This is the hypothesis known as the Big Bounce. Under this model, our universe is just one cycle in an eternal pattern of death and rebirth. It suggests that what comes after the end of the universe could be a new beginning, an echo of creation that repeats again and again. But would each cycle be the same? Would any memory survive? Or would each iteration be entirely distinct, with no trace of what came before? We do not know, and perhaps we never will. There is a third, more violent possibility, one that tears not only space and time apart, but every particle, every atom, every law of physics along with it. This is the Big Rip. If dark energy, the force currently accelerating the expansion of the universe, continues to grow stronger over time, then the expansion will not just continue, it will accelerate beyond control. Galaxies will fly apart, stars will tear away from their orbits, planetary systems will disintegrate. Even atoms themselves could be ripped to shreds. The very structure of space-time would break apart. And then, nothing. Not even the vacuum would remain. The universe would be so violently unraveled that the very concept of after may no longer make sense. In all three of these endings, whether by heat, by collapse or by rip, the question persists. What comes next? If space and time end, can anything come after? Some physicists argue that there is no after once space-time ceases. Just as we cannot speak of before the Big Bang in any meaningful way, there may be no timeline to extend past the end. Time, as we understand it, might be a feature of our universe alone. When the universe ends, time may end with it. Yet even here, theoretical ideas push further. One of the most intriguing is the multiverse hypothesis. In this framework, our universe is just one of many. If one universe dies, others may continue, or new ones may spawn. According to models like eternal inflation, universes bubble into existence all the time from an inflating quantum field, each with its own physical laws and constants. From this perspective, the end of our universe is not the end of all things. It is simply a local event. Beyond our observable cosmos may lie an infinite number of other universes, some similar, some radically different. In such a multiverse, after gains new meaning, not as a temporal sequence, but as a transition from one pocket of reality to another. Not as a temporal sequence, but as a transition from one pocket of reality to another. Another line of thought comes from the concept of information conservation. Some physicists, including Stephen Hawking, have wrestled with whether the information about the physical state of the universe can ever be truly destroyed. The consensus forming among many physicists is, no, it can't. This means that even if black holes evaporate and matter decays, the underlying quantum information may persist, perhaps encoded in some holographic way in the structure of space itself. If that's true, then in some deeply abstract sense, nothing is ever fully lost. Even after the end, the blueprint of what once was might remain. Could that blueprint be used to reconstruct a universe, to relaunch reality? Some speculative theories even suggest that advanced intelligences far beyond anything we can comprehend might one day harness the dying embers of the universe to restart it. Perhaps by manipulating quantum fields or space-time itself, they could reignite the cosmos. This moves us from physics into the realm of philosophical speculation. Could consciousness itself in some form persist beyond the end of the universe? If awareness is not merely an emergent property of matter, but something more fundamental, could it exist independently of a physical substrate? Some interpretations of quantum theory, along with philosophies like panpsychism, propose that consciousness is a basic feature of the universe, not an accident of biology. If so, then perhaps consciousness doesn't end with the universe, but simply changes form, evolves, transitions into something beyond our comprehension. Other theories imagine the universe itself as a simulation, its end merely the shutdown of a grand system. In that case, the end of the universe is not truly an end, but an exit. An off switch flipped by a higher intelligence. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore a deeper truth. The human mind is uniquely capable of asking these impossible questions. We don't yet have the tools to test these theories, but we have something just as powerful, the drive to understand, to imagine, to explore beyond the horizon of knowledge. So what happens after the universe ends? If we are governed only by entropy and expansion, then perhaps nothing follows but silence. If the universe collapses and bounces, then a new cosmos may emerge. If it rips apart completely, there may not even be a framework for next. But in the face of this uncertainty, one thing is certain: the universe we live in is not permanent. It had a beginning, it will have an end. And what lies beyond that end is the ultimate frontier. We may never see it, we may never know. But just by asking, just by seeking, we become part of the story that reaches beyond the stars, beyond the edge of time, and into the unknown.
Because maybe the universe ending isn't the end of the story.
Maybe it's only the end of a chapter. And somewhere, something is waiting to begin again.